Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here again. As I get older, I get surprised more and more often. I keep forgetting things, and I didn't realize I was speaking here this weekend until Friday, when I got an email that I normally just toss off. It's just one of our little handy weekly announcements from Santa Barbara, but I opened it for whatever reason, and boom, here I am. Delighted and surprised and happy to be here. Before I start this morning, I just would like to take a moment to remember Pravrajaka Vishuddhaprana up in San Francisco. I heard yesterday, I got word that she has passed away after decades and decades of service. And just to bring some attention to her and the other Pravrajakas, the Swaminis, the women of the order, and just to notice how much work is done around here, and how much work is done in Santa Barbara, and how much work is done in San Francisco, silently and behind the scenes. And I just want to take a moment knowing that Vishuddhaprana was a woman of great faith and great service, and was one of the pinnacles that really allows San Francisco to exist. Without those nuns, that place could not possibly manage to do what it does and to get done what it gets done. And so just to wish Vishuddhaprana happy sailing on her journey home, and to send our hearts to fill her sail with that gratitude, and to appreciate each other who are still here, and to really strive to let our love notice what is done, to be grateful for what is done, and to be inspired into our own doing and loving and caring. I wanted to talk about the image of God, and about being the image of God, because there's so much freedom in it, and so much beauty in it, and so much wonder in it, and so much openness and lightness, the opposite of quite often what we run into or what we think about in those things. There's a delightful poem by Hafiz, of course, that I have to start with, a very short one. I apologize for the language ahead of time. Nothing I can do. It's been written. The name of the poem is Damn Thirsty, and it's very short. First, the fish needs to say, something ain't right about this camel ride, and I'm feeling so damn thirsty. That's the whole of the poem. The fish needs to say, something ain't right about this camel ride. You know, this is really the beginning of spiritual life, actually, when we begin to really understand this world. We're spiritual by nature. We're spirit by nature. We're not bodies by nature. That's why it drops off. And that's why it grows old, right? To let us feel that distance. Because that's the most exciting experience I've had of old age. I just turned 60 this year, so I'm going on and on and on about being old. And nobody's buying it. But I'm enjoying the trip because I'm excited about it. One of the things that made me want to become a monk was the first 5 monks I had met inspired me to be old, because they were all very old. And my idea of being old was that you were useless. You'd retired, and it was been put on the shelf, and it was just sitting around waiting to pass. Nobody's looking forward to that. Nobody wants a world like that. And it was these beautiful monastics that I met in India that inspired me to tell my good friend at the time, Philip Horn, when we were walking through the woods in Rishikesh. I told him, I said, you know, in all my life, I've never been inspired to be old. And I said, on this trip, I've met 5 people that have inspired me to be old, beginning with Pravrajaka Mokshaprana, because when I looked into her eyes, I saw such a love that awoke something in me that I didn't even know was in there, you know. I just spent 10 minutes with her, and she was the cause of my moving into the monastery 5 weeks later. Barely a Vedantist, barely knowing what I was doing, but knowing that I had seen the purpose of life in these monks that I had met in India, just in the way that they were, that you can't get that wisdom, you can't get that deep, puddled eyes of love as I see in those old monks, at Bellarmine. You can't have that without a life of attention and watchfulness, prayer, communion with the beloved within, that will carry you past the body. Old age is one of the greatest graces of God, I'm finding, because it's helping us to let go of the things that we can't let go of. Look at the condition that we have to get these bodies into before we're like, okay, all right, I'm out of here, fine. Right? They have to be completely emaciated. They have to be riddled with disease. The hair has to be almost gone. Everything sort of has to drag along behind us for us to get the idea. This was never meant to be permanent. This was never meant to be the real thing. That we have been spiritual beings playing on the stage in a costume. And this costume is going to wear out. And the sequins are going to fall off. Everything's going to melt. And to enjoy the ride. Accept it and do not resist it. Open up to it, because that which is blissful within you, that which is the point of your being, that which is fulfilling, has nothing to do with what's going on outside. And the fact that your body will one day end up in one room, perhaps in one bed, not able to get out of it or move from it, is absolutely no limitation to your being yourself at all. Has nothing to do with it. And the sooner you grow in that and understand that, the greater your bliss will be. I remember learning this lesson back in, I think it was 2008, I don't know anymore, but I broke my leg somewhere along the way. And I was laying in the bed in the front room of the monastery in San Francisco, unable to move. And I'd been there for 2 weeks in the same position, bemoaning my fate and feeling sorry for myself and thinking, I can't do this. I can't lay here for another minute. I'd laid there for 2 weeks, no television, no radio. It was a monastery, just nothing but a dingy room, going insane. And then the phone rang, and I laid there feeling sorry for myself. I can't even answer the phone, and I'm the only one here. And I heard myself say, "Are you sure you can't answer the phone?" And so I decided I was going to try, and I remember sliding off that bed shoulders first, because I had to keep my leg above my heart the whole time, otherwise the pain, oof, God, that was horrible. So I pushed my shoulders down onto the floor and kept that leg high, and I was wincing the whole way and pushing myself across the room, and I got over there by the 8th ring, and I thought for sure they're going to stop hanging on. Picked up that landline and put it to my ear and answered the phone. And I was thrilled by that. I was thrilled by that. I thought, that's the way this has to be dealt with. This is my reality. This body, I broke it. That doesn't mean I'm broken. I'm still me, and I can still play my play and express myself and do the things I want to do. And I remember after hanging up that phone, I thought, what else could I do? I'd been 2 weeks and I hadn't had a shower. Beautiful image. Laying in that bed. And so I thought, I wonder if I can get upstairs, right? And so I, on my back, scooch, 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 scooch. Fortunately, we had one of those grand staircases that sort of wrapped up to the second floor, so the one side of the stair was real big and wide, so I could get this tubby body on there. And made myself all the way up the stairs, ran a bath, all of this from the floor. Reaching up and getting it done and getting in and taking a bath and getting myself cleaned up for the first time in 2 weeks and getting back down those stairs and back into bed. And I understood. Life is about overcoming obstacles. It's about insisting on expressing your nature, your divinity, your beauty, your wonderful, your excitement for life. Expressing that through your obstacles, no matter what the limitations are. There was a wonderful devotee in San Francisco also named Lalita, who just passed away 2 or 3 years ago. What a journey she went on. She was a corporate lawyer. She was very successful, and she was a very strong Jewish woman, to mention a stereotype. But just a powerful person, very accustomed to being in charge and very do-oriented. And one day she had a massive stroke that put her in the bed for the rest of her life, for what turned out to be 10 years. And within 10 minutes, I mean, I learned that with my leg, 10 seconds, everything can change. I was going about doing my Sunday morning duties, trying to push that cherry wood piano over in front of the door so that Felder could play the intro music. It falls over, breaks my leg, 10 seconds, and I'm in bed for 6 months, flat on my back, right? Trying to heal that mess that happened to my leg. And Lalita, less than 10 seconds, 1 second, a massive stroke. She's in bed for 10 years. And that first year, I called her regularly, we talked on the phone, and every time she was just bemoaning, what am I going to do? I cannot roll my body over. I can't put on my own shirt. I can't get out of bed to use the bathroom. Why is the mother keeping me here like this? Why is she doing this to me? And she would always end in tears, and I would just be on the phone just bawling, because what can I tell? What can I say? What can I do? I'm fine. I can walk. I can do all of the things in my life that I want to do, and I have no space that I can sit in except silence and to hear this pain that she was going through. And then after a year, one day, it was literally a snap of a turn, I called her, she answered the phone, and I could just hear. There was a song in her voice again. She was alive again. And I called her on it immediately. I said, wow, what's changed? You sound wonderful, Lalita. She said, I got tired of being overcome by what I can't do. And she said, I started to make a list of what I think I can do. And she said, I started having them come into my room and get me into an electric wheelchair every morning and strapping me in since I can't hold myself up. She said, but I've got a good arm and I can drive that thing around. And I decided that I would start memorizing Reader's Digest jokes. And that I'm just going to go from room to room around the rehab center here, just sharing jokes with everyone. And for the last couple of years of her life, that's what she dedicated to herself to. And she said to me, I realized that my body's broken, my brain is broken, but I'm not. And I've always managed to express myself through a body which is a set of limitations and restrictions already. It just keeps you right here, and you can only reach this far, and you can't fly. And sometimes you can't sing, and sometimes you feel sick. And she said, I saw that I've lived my whole life with limits, and that the exploration of life is learning to manifest me, myself, this image of the beloved that is harbored deep within me, and to find ways of doing it regardless of the obstacles. And she said, I feel like I've gotten my life back. And she was like that for the last 2 years or so. And then my last phone call with her, she said, my body has now started to turn to wood. She said, I can't bend even my good limbs anymore. She said, the time's coming. And she said, I think it's here. If you don't hear from me, know that I'm well. Not that I've gone. So, remembering that, I know that she went because I didn't hear from her again. And I got word that she had left the body. And I felt such a joy because, wow, that was a test. I saw Mother plays hardball. She doesn't always make it easy, but she always gives you the answer if you listen deeply. And so I wanted to talk about this beautiful thing called the image of the beloved, the image of God, because it is what makes you worthwhile. It is what makes you valuable. It is what makes you beautiful. It is what makes you interesting. It is what makes you unique. And it is not something that can change. It is not something that goes and comes. It is always present in you. And it is the source of your ultimate confidence when you walk into a room full of strangers. Most of us, when we're ego-based, when we're body-based, when we're living as an idea of ourself rather than simply being, it makes us so nervous to walk into a big room. I remember going to the Christmas party down here at I can't remember where that was, the Latter-day Saints had a big thing, and I was there in Garawa and feeling extremely self-conscious, you know. It was me and Mahayogananda in Garawa and everybody else dressed very nicely and really decked out for a Christmas ball. And just walking around and feeling that and becoming aware, bro, what is this? What's going on? Are you dressed as an ego again? Are you going back to that way of thinking, that fear, that shortcoming? You're here because you've got an invitation to be here. You're here as the divine, to see the divine, to watch the divine, to play in the divine, right? Go back. Forget this fear. Forget this smallness and return. And so I spent the rest of my party walking around, meeting God, being God, smiling, trying to serve, trying to just enjoy being there, find out about the people I was talking to. In Genesis 5, it says, when God created man and woman, he made them in the likeness of himself, in the likeness of God. Male and female he created them, and he blessed them and named them man, and they were created. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. This is how we know that we're spirit and not material, because he made the body of Adam out of the dust of the earth, and it laid there, inert, a stone, dead. That was not Adam. Adam didn't appear until God bent down and breathed into him the breath of life, his nature, Satchitananda. And at that moment, Adam began to exist, began to move, began to be the verb of God, right, as we've talked about. That God, the absolute unchanging, is the divine principle of Satchitananda, of pure love, of pure wisdom and existence, right? That God is existence itself. He doesn't exist. He is love itself. He is not loving. He is intelligence itself. He is not intelligent. You are word. You are manifest. You are the verb to God's principle. You are loving. You are wise. You exist. And that is our party, to carry around this beautiful divine principle that the more you delve into it, reading the last 2 paragraphs of Swamiji's lectures, you know, where he just soars off into the sunset and just takes the lid off of what it is to be alive, of what it is to enjoy this moment, telling us that he didn't come here, that religion isn't there to keep us from enjoying the world, but that religion is there to teach you how to enjoy the world so that you don't get caught in it, so that you don't come into thinking that it is the thing and begin identifying yourself with it, right? But to be free. And in this moment, you know, Sri Nisargadatta says that the world is freshly recreated at every moment, that every moment is brand new and brand fresh. And if you can be here and now, like Eckhart Tolle likes to talk, and find that power of existence, of being, that you're free in every moment. Your past decisions do not have to determine how you act in the moment. Your desires do not have to limit your future to only those views. That this moment you're infinitely free to express this love equanimously, never running out, never losing it. And since you're being recreated in every moment, it is God every time you inhale. God is breathing into you that life that's going to give you a few more seconds, a few more minutes of existence, a few more minutes to express that divine principle, a few more minutes to dance. And so every time you inhale, there's reasons that these mystics pay attention to the breath. You know, it is what brings us back to the moment, to knowing this moment is the gift. This moment is my connection with the divine, so intimate that it is her breath, his breath, coming into my nostrils to give me this life every time I breathe in. And that it is of the nature of pure love. It is of the nature of pure wisdom, forgiving. In I Am That, Sri Nisargadatta goes on and says, you cannot possibly say that you know what you think yourself to be. Your ideas about yourself change from day to day and from moment to moment. Your self-image is the most changeful thing you have. It is utterly vulnerable, at the mercy of a passerby, A bereavement, the loss of a job, an insult, and your image of yourself, which you call your person, changes deeply. To know what you are, you must first investigate and know what you are not, right? And so, of course, he's setting us up there for that internal investigation into what are you? How are you put together? Right? And we often talk about body and mind, and you're not that, and you're not that, and you're not that, and you're not that. We're going to break the rules a little bit and wonder who you are. As you're not all of these things, you're backing up, and at some point you're going to trip and fall into nothingness, which is the arms of the beloved mother. Right? You're going to fall into the arms of the mother as you back out of all of these possible attributes. And by passing out of these attributes, these passing attributes, what you're doing is stepping out of mind and stepping out of the body, stepping back, and becoming the observer and expanding that observation, opening that observation up so that it doesn't stay stuck on the particular like it likes to. That's small-mindedness. When you're stuck on the particular thought and mood of the moment and you feel like, I can't get anywhere. You know, depression is a horrible example of that. That depression comes over and you feel that's it. The whole world is depressing. There's no point in life. Why am I going to work? It's all meaningless. Everything is empty, right? And you start laying there in bed and your world starts turning to trash all around you and you're stuck because you're caught in a particular. You're caught in a singular thought and believing it to be real, believing it to be who you are and what you are, forgetting the divine principle within. You know, if your life isn't fulfilling, it's because you've not found out who you are. You're Satchitananda. What does that mean? You're pure love. That means anything you do with love is going to be fulfilling for you. Every time you pick up a pencil, do it with attention. Do it with wonder. You have no idea what's happening. You have no idea how it's happening, right? You're picking up your pencil and you don't even think about it. You have no idea how that happened. You have no idea how that happened. How did you find the pencil? How did you know how tightly to grab it? How did you know where it was? And how did you pick it up? And how did your arm move? Do you have any idea how did that happen? A thought becomes action. Something that you can't see, something that you can't hear, something you can't taste, touch, or smell happened in my head. I said, wiggle your fingers. And none of you are applauding. Thank you. Yes, this is a miracle. This is a marvelous thing. This is a mystery, right? That I have the power to take thought, something from the subtle world, something that doesn't exist, and manifest it for everyone to see, for everyone to experience. Do you know how much power is in that for you? Do we dare to call that ordinary when we don't know the first thing about it? You'd have to take a year of biology, right? And even after that, you would just have a bunch of words to string together. You still wouldn't know how in the world that's happening, right? How is that going forward like that? These are the things not to forget. It's not just going, God, 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 God. It's understanding the beauty of what you're saying, the wonder of what you're invoking, the infinity of your freedom, the depth of your love, the potential of what you can do in this world, what you can set free on this world. Look at the Jesuses, look at the Buddhas, look at the Ramakrishnas, look at the Chaitanyas. Their names are remembered for thousands of years. They're worshipped by millions, billions of people. Why? Because they understood this. They were like, I am the manifester of divinity. I am the manifester of the pure nature of this world. I have an infinite love to give, and I'm not going to let the fear of my mind decide that I'm not going to give it to some people, and I'm only going to give it to other people. They are ones who became liberated. What does it mean to be liberated? It means that finally you can be what you've always dreamed of being, someone who loves without a limit, someone who is always present without a limit, somebody who always knows the right thing to say because their heart is always open. This is your potential. This is what you are at your very core. This is why you're valuable. This is why you're necessary. This is why you get to be here. To explore, to see what you can do in this world, manifesting the Satchitananda, the image of God that's within you. You must first investigate what you are not, because the only thing you can investigate are your limitations. And that's why we investigate what we are not, because you have to throw those limitations away. You are not a body. So that means you're not a gender. You know, I hear this thing thrown around that we're sexual beings in the world, and somehow tying our freedom to that. That means we can express that anyway. And you can run down that hill. You won't find bliss there. You won't find lasting joy there, because that's not your nature. You are not physical. You are not a sexual being. You're beyond that, right? You are divine love, a love that has no condition, a love that's infinite, is not going to run out. You don't have to worry about giving all the love that you have. You cannot. It is infinite. Define yourself properly, and everything in your life, as a byproduct, will produce fulfillment. You don't shoot for a good life. You don't shoot for a happy life. You don't make contentment your goal, because a fulfilling life can never be a goal. It's a byproduct of you being true to yourself, you being true to the divine nature that is within you. And we find this, he says, our usual attitude is of, I am this, separate consistently and perseveringly the I am from this or from that, and trying to feel what it means to be, just to be, without being this, without being that. All our habits go against it, and the task of fighting them is long and hard sometimes, but clear understanding helps a lot. The clearer you understand that on the level of the mind you can be described in negative terms only, the quicker you will come to the end of your search and realize your limitless being. Fear and desire are the two causes of all of this. Who creates them? We ourselves. Our lives are but a passing from dream to dream. Man, the infinite dreamer, dreaming finite dreams. You know, we live in this world as a thought of ourself, right? I always talk about this. I'll waste some more time on it. You know, that it is identifying with body and identifying with mind that causes us all of our struggle, all of our depressions, all of our anxieties. Right? Living in the past, this idea of a past. The past doesn't exist, right? There's no evidence of it. You can't show it to me, right? And even when you tell it, every time you tell it, it changes just slightly. The story changes just a little bit. You're not actually an accurate record keeper of the past. And the things that we know of the moment are so small that the idea of building a past out of them with that meager little bit of data can't happen. And so don't let the past define you. Don't let your mistakes define you. Don't let your failures define you. And don't let your successes define you, because they're unreal. They can't be demonstrated. They can't be pulled out. Right? They're done. You're here now. You don't have the limitation of your past to make you afraid, to keep up with, to be true to. You're free in this moment. Every one of us can walk out that door like the peace pilgrim and just keep right on walking. You don't have to go back to the apartment. You don't have to go get the car. You're free at this moment. You don't have to worry about shelter. You don't have to worry about food. The beloved has said that she will take care of all of this. It's a dare to live as free as you are. That's why he says it's your fear and your desires that keep you small, that keep you believing, oh God, I have to go do this job that I hate so much. Why do you hate the job that you do so much? Because of expectations, right? Because of alternate ideas of what you want to be doing, rather than being present. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Ramakrishna says it's not what you do in this world that matters. It's how you do it, right? I used to go to work at when I first started, in a accounting office, 23 women and me. This is somehow a theme in my life. I'm now living in a convent. But so there I was working in an accounting office, the only man in there. And, I hated that job. I remember came to about 35 years old working that job, and I stood up in my cubicle and I looked around and I remembered all the dreams I had as a kid of what I thought my life was going to be. And I looked around and I thought, oh my God, is this it? Is this what I am? Right? Is this all? A cubicle rat, right? I went home and thought about it though, and I thought, no, that's not what I am, right? What are we? You're Satchitananda. You're Satchitananda. You're not an accountant. You're not a computer engineer. You're not a busboy. You are Satchitananda first and foremost. And you can be Satchitananda as an accountant. And what does that look like? That means you go into that office of 23 cubicles and you find out about everybody else sitting in those other meaningless cubicles. And you care about them. You find out about their kid being sick. You find out when their birthday is. You find out when they're not well. You find out what their dreams are and what their hopes are. And you think of ways to help them out. You think of ways to lifting them up, of encouraging them. Right? You become the love of that office. You become the unity of that office. You become the meaning of that office. Because it's how you live. And that does not depend on circumstance. You can do that as a busboy. You can do that as a homeless person on the corner. You can do that as a CEO. Manifest love, manifest wisdom, first and foremost in everything that you do, not for any particular reason, not for any particular result, but just because it's what you are. It's what you do. And that will unlock the fulfillment of your life. That will unlock a joyous living for you. He says, oh, the blessedness of it, that nothing external can be eternal. They little know what they mean, whose hearts quake when they hear that nothing in this relative world can be eternal. I am the infinite blue sky. Over me pass these clouds of various colors. They remain a moment and vanish. I am that same eternal blue. I am the witness, the same eternal witness of all. I see, therefore nature exists. I do not see, therefore she does not. Not one of us could see or speak if this infinite unity were broken for even a moment. Right? So to know that you are the observer of all of this, what does that mean? I first had to get confronted with this when I went up to see the redwoods for the first time up at Founder's Grove, up above, well, it's way up there actually. But I remember getting out of the car and walking into Founder's Grove and seeing the redwoods for the first time in that grand silence, and to see those trees standing there in that stillness, and just contemplating the fact that that being was 2,000 years old and had never moved, never got a vacation, never got a bus ride down the coast to appreciate the sunset. That tree has been standing there for 2,000 years, unmoving, observing. And I thought, how profound is that? And then I saw in the shrine not a few days later when I was sitting there and getting bored with my meditation, this was in DC, and sitting there looking at my clock, thinking, oh my God, 2 minutes. I've got 58 to go, this is horrible. And the mother reminding me of the redwoods, she said, you have been observing one body after another body after another body for thousands of years. You have never done anything but meditate. You have never found any contentment outside of yourself, but you're identifying yourself with things outside of yourself. And these things cannot be eternal. They must go. So your eyes cannot be on the changing. You get addicted to the changing, and then you're restless all the time, never content. Breathe into being. Find what that redwood tree knows, that it continues to exist. It doesn't drop dead. It continues to expand and to grow. And what is the feeling in a redwood forest? It's of holiness, stillness, sacredness. You cannot walk through that place without feeling some sort of spirit, some sort of opening in yourself. That's what you are. That temple that you can blame on a redwood forest, that's just the external manifestation of what you are. All these temples that people like to go on pilgrimage for, in India, and they always like to talk about, oh, the stillness in there. Oh my God, it was a beautiful atmosphere. It was wonderful. That's what you are. You made that temple holy. You made that temple sacred by all the practice that you did there, by all the worship that you did there, by all the awareness you mustered while you were there. This temple within you needs to be treated the same way. That focus, that concentration, that stillness, that attention. When you sit in your practice, that's what you're doing. You're creating the atmosphere of holiness within you. You're creating your own stillness, your own sacred nature, so that wherever you are, your experience of it will be sacred silence, that sweetness of being, that giggle that'll pass through you when you realize, I can do anything in here. I can be anything. I can say anything. I can do anything. To know that you're never limited, that you're never stuck, right? He says, your own child comes to you masked, a moment of terror, and then it's the Lord. The world has been ever preaching the God of virtue, but I preach to you the God of virtue and of sin. No more looking up and down at each other. The less differentiation, the sooner God. This is the one sin, differentiation. This is the door to hell, differentiation. Only when this is broken, when it is pulverized to atoms, can we attain the goal. Can we or can we not see God in everyone equally? Right? To see it in yourself first. This is why that practice is you sitting in your room alone in the morning in front of your shrine. Find that divinity within. Touch that touch that bare wire that runs through the very center of your being. 220 volts of pure, unconditioned love. You'll find it, maybe by accident. You'll touch it, and it'll almost throw you off your stool for the day. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering, what was that? What was that? Find that in yourself. Find that in yourself, that your bliss can shine out at that brightness, at that light. See this beauty inside so that you can see the beauty in the meanest person, right? We always complain about the noise of our minds. I can't meditate at all. Oh. So what? How do you know your mind is noisy? It's because you're not. That's how you know your mind is noisy. Because behind your noisy mind is you, outside of mind. You will never learn to quiet the mind. That's not how it happens. That's like jumping in the pool to try and calm the waves, right? Not going to happen. Every wave you push down, it's going to push up another one. So your practice is not to do something in your mind. It's to step outside of your mind. I am not the mind. And watch it. Let it go crazy. It'll go crazy for a while, right? But if you stand there watching long enough, that pool's going to become placid, become smooth and silent. And in that inner silence, the first split second of that inner silence, the gems that will become apparent to you of what you are amazing. The things that God could not tell you in words, because words cannot contain him or her, that you become aware of in that first split second of true silence inside. The first is your timelessness, your eternity. If you sit in silence 2 hours, 3 hours can pass, and you look at your clock and you're like, oh my God, where have I been? You're outside of time. To be eternal does not mean you hang around for a long time. It means you're free from time. Outside of it, your mind can't conceive of that, but you can know it, not as a word, not as a sentence, but as being. Then you know the peace, the calmness, that peace that passes understanding. That will become apparent to you. That will be the finger that calls you back constantly. Come here. All right? Find that silence within. And when you find that silence within yourself, you assume it in others. When you know the sweetness that you are, when you know the value that you are, the wonder that you are, you will see that around you. You'll start responding to that around you because it will change you. Seeing that sweetness and that contentment within yourself, you won't walk into a room of people afraid. You'll walk in bright-eyed, like Thakur. He would walk into that theater, the Star Theater, to see that play. Always the first thing that would happen is go into ecstasy. He would always say, when I see a large number of people in the same place, I see God everywhere, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. You'll be overwhelmed. You'll be so excited to be amongst your own kind, because everyone is your own kind. And you know where to touch to find love. You can see it in them. You can see it bending to become a personality. You can see it warping to become selfish. You can see it doing all of these things. And you'll be amazed at what's being done magically and what's being manifested. And for yourself, you'll be amazed at how easily you can be with people. That you're not anymore sitting there trapped into thinking of what you're going to respond to what they're saying, right? You're not stuck in your insecurity. Oh my God, I don't know anything about that. I'm not smart enough to talk to this guy. Or, oh my Lord, that's a celebrity. They're so much more famous than I am. They're so much bigger than I am. That's when you live in the changing, when you live in the things that die. You see the world that way. You get intimidated. You become small. You become insecure. Because egoism is absolutely the very seed of the insecure. Because it's always changing. Identify yourself with the mind, and you have to keep the mind happy. Look at how many moods your mind has in a day. That's why they call it slavery. Thinking yourself a mind, you have to run around to keep that beast happy all the time. Keep that beast from being bored. It likes ice cream, so you go buy ice cream. The 5th day of the ice cream, suddenly the mind's like, I'm not going to eat any more ice cream ever again in my life. And you're like, oh my God, now what? How do I find, oh my God, what's going to make me happy now, right? Until the next fad comes along, right? This is life in the mind, always changing and always running to keep it happy, always subject to its moods, its hungers, its tastes, its desires. And then there's the body. Good Lord, how many needs does it have? How many times do you have to change positions in one night, even when you're sleeping? The thing's constantly demanding. Roll over. Stick your foot out. I'm hot. Get another blanket. Take another blanket off. Roll over again. No, get in that previous position, right? Just constantly. And that's when you're in bed. What about now? You're like, when is this guy going to shut up and let me out of here? When can I go get my brunch with my buddies? Oh, I hope we don't go to that same restaurant again. I'm so sick and tired of that place. Right? This is what it is to believe yourself to be a body. And this is why they call it slavery. Because you're running around trying to keep things happy that are never going to be happy. Their end is death. And that's nothing but a relief to you. To finally have it. Ramana Maharshi realized his true nature by imagining himself dying. And I tried to do that. Unfortunately, I didn't have the same result. But I did get the idea of what it's going to be as I watched myself withdraw from my body and just saw, wow, that is going to be a silence I've never experienced when the body finally drops, when that heartbeat stops, when that breath stops. Wow, that's going to be silent. That's going to be still. And then I did the same with the mind, and I thought, oh my God, that's going to be, I can't even imagine that stillness, right? But if you spend the time in the shrine of the heart, if you spend time getting to know what you are, being, not being something, then you'll know what that feeling is, and you'll know to let go, to not be afraid of the silence and the stillness, but to open to it and find in it that divine principle, that beauty of infinity, that beauty of everything, everywhere, all at once. How do you get there is our question, and I love his response here. He says, first of all, don't go by formulas. Don't get a formula. Imagine what this world was before there were religions. Where did you go for your answers when there wasn't a Bible, when there wasn't a Quran, when there wasn't a Veda? Where did you find out who you were when there wasn't a church or a priest or a monk or a sadhu or a holy man? Where did you go? The rishis went into the mountains, right, to get away from the right angles of egoism, to go out where we see things harmonizing with each other, to go out where we see silence where there is none, to go see life. Don't go by formulas. The answer is not in words. So don't sit and think about it. Don't contemplate it. Come to the moment. Come to right here, right now. And anything that is not right here and not right now, banish it from your awareness. Be here. You exist. Do you know what that means? We have words for all these things, and the ego takes these words and makes us think that it's knowledge. But try to unpack your existence. How do you know that you exist? What is it to exist? What does it mean to exist? I found the most blissful times of my meditations have come just from contemplating being. To open up to everything at one moment, to sit there and take everything in. Not, if you say your index finger, then suddenly you think of your index finger. But don't let the mind focus on a particularity, not a differentiation. Open up completely, feel everything. If you can't, start with your index finger, then feel your middle finger, feel your arm, and keep expanding, keep opening. Hear the cars out there, the people that are out there, the noises that are out there. Just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. In that is your awareness, that infinite resource. That is that which teaches every lesson, that uses your intelligence to bring you back to wisdom, right? That uses the body to express love, to nurture and to care. He says, the nearest you can say in words is, I am. I am that what makes perception possible, the life beyond the experiencer and his experiences. Right? You're bigger than your mind, bigger than your body. That's why you don't want to live as those. Those are hungry items. The body's made of food. That means it's going to be eating and eating and eating until it can't anymore. And you're going to be stuck doing that if you identify with it. Otherwise, let the mind do it. You go on being. Right? It's the relationship between body and mind. It's the wheel of samsara. The body knows when it's hungry. It tells the mind, I'm hungry, by how that little gurgle in the stomach, right? And the mind's like, he's hungry. Well, I gave him eggs this morning. I'll give him peanut butter and jelly for lunch. And the mind knows where the fridge is. And the mind will take the body to the fridge, pull out the peanut butter, and the mind will say, no, I want almond butter. So you pull out the almond butter. Okay, that's good. The peach jelly. No, make the raspberry. Pull that out. Make yourself a sandwich. You're observing the whole thing. You don't have to be there. Of course, if you didn't, the body would just fall down. So you have to be there for that. But you don't have to be there. The body knows how to tell the mind it's hungry, and the mind knows where to get food for it. You're the observer. You're not the doer. And even if you manage to say you were the doer, it's a dream. When you wake up in the morning, nothing you did is done. So even the doership is not real. So it is a matter of silencing, a matter of surrender. Your practice is not an accomplishment. We talked about that in the last lecture. It's not an attainment. It's not an achievement. It's a celebration, really. It's a celebration to sit there and to be in communion with the divine principle, with an infinite love. That's where your faith is. Your faith is not in mystery things out and about there. Your faith is believing in the possibility that you have the ability to love without limit. That's what faith is. Faith is to accept the fact that you are unlimited in your ability to share love. And you can only know that when you come to know that that infinite love comes to you first. It comes into you and then gets manifested through you. And so by touching that divine love, to know that love of God, that was never about sin. That was never about limitation. That was never about restriction. It was always about freedom, always about light, about infinity, about running through an open field naked with butterflies, or however you imagine it. This is what life is, that freedom, and you are that. And you don't need to be anywhere else to experience it. Just become aware of it within yourself. Let your mind go silent for a moment. Let your desires go silent for a moment. And find the peace that's behind it. Let everything that changes point at that in you that does not change. God is spirit and must be worshipped as spirit. Where does the spirit reside? In a tree? In a cloud? What do you mean by God being ours? You are the Spirit. That is the first fundamental belief you must never give up. I am the spiritual being. It is there. All this skill of yoga and this system of meditation and everything is just to find him there within you, to know who you are. We're doing all these machinations just to be, right? Because we're addicted to being something. But it is neither the body nor the mind. The body is dying every minute. The mind is constantly changing. The body is a combination, and so is the mind. And as such, they can never reach to a state beyond all change. But beyond this momentary sheathing of gross matter, beyond even the finer covering of the mind, is the Atman, the true self of man, the permanent, the ever-free. It is his freedom that is percolating through the layers of thought and matter, and in spite of the colorings of name and form, is ever asserting its unshackled existence. It is his deathlessness. It is his bliss. It is his peace. His divinity that shines out and makes itself felt in spite of the thickest layers of ignorance. He is the real man, the fearless one, the deathless one, the free. Now freedom is only possible when no external power can exert any influence or produce any change. Freedom is only possible to the being who is beyond all conditions, all laws, all bondages of cause and effect. In other words, the unchangeable alone can be free, and therefore immortal. This being, this Atman, this real self of man, the free, the unchangeable, is beyond all conditions, and as such, it has neither birth nor death. It exists as you. You exist. Plumb that depth. What is it that exists? What is it that remains? Right? This body is always changing. I told that story a little while back. I'm worried it's going to get me in trouble. But I remember sitting in that car and driving by a cornfield for some reason when I was 7. And I had just had that, sex education in school, and we talked about puberty, and they had just listed all these things that were going to happen to my body in the next few years, right? And I'm sitting in the back of the car. My parents, I don't know where we were going, but we were driving by a cornfield. And I just remember thinking and looking at my body and just thinking, wow, God, You know, for a long time, every day I would lift my arm when I was taking a bath and hope that one hair had shown up, you know, that I was going to become a man, right? And waiting for my voice, you know, for that change to happen. All that excitement, but I was still fully me. And now all that stuff has happened, and now we're on to the next phase of letting it all fall out, letting it all melt, right? I'm still that same 7-year-old boy sitting in the back of that car looking out. Wow, is this going to be as exciting as puberty? I don't know, you know? It's like I've already started practicing being in an old folks' home. You know, I lay in bed. It sounds morbid, but it's delightful to me. You know, to sit there and let it all go and just think, okay, this is your deathbed. You'll never get out of here. Is that okay with you? And there's a beautiful place within each one of us that makes that okay. But if you don't find it, if you don't practice that inner silence and that stillness, you will think that it's you that can't move. You will think that it's you that has become your obstacles. You will think that you are falling apart, that you are dying, and it will be terrifying, and it will be lonely. It'll be isolating. It doesn't have to be that. It can be the return home. And in that state of just lying there, you can be the grandmother of grandmothers. You know, I remember my Aunt Elsie. She loved so much. She was so old. But I loved to see her. Why? She couldn't even lift up a ball. She couldn't do anything. She was super old. But when I was with Aunt Elsie, I knew that I was loved more than anyone else in the room, right? I knew that she knew me and that I was okay with her no matter what. That's your gift to this world, to learn to look at each other that way. I am your best friend. I will always be on your side. I will always help you out. I will always love you. I will always forgive you. I will always care about you. I will always try the best thing for you. I promise. That is who you are. That's how you find a fulfilling life, is by making sure that everyone else's life is fulfilled, by looking for ways and means of caring, of expanding, taking down the fence of egoism that meters out your love as if there's a limited quantity of a very special thing that costs a lot of money. And you just walk around with a fire hose and a sprinkler on your head, walking down the street, smiling, just glad to be there, excited to see all this life, understanding how rare a gift of existence is, and rarer still, the remembrance of it, the thought of it, and the freedom to express, despite what obstacles you encounter, knowing that there are no limitations to shut you down. You can never be silenced. You are awareness itself, spreading infinitely everywhere, always, all at once. You are free. You are the image of God, the verb of God's noun. Sure. All right, I think I can manage this. Today's the 23rd, and I just finished a talk on the image of God. So that means next weekend, Swami Chidbrahmananda, somebody who knows something, is going to speak on the ring of Gyges? Gyges. The ring of Gyges. Obviously will be educational for me. Tuesday at 4:30 on the 25th here is the Srimad Bhagavatam by Swami Sarvadevananda. And Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. on the 25th, it's the only remaining one, is going to be on the Svatasvatara Upanishad, also with Swami Sarvadevananda. And then Wednesdays for the next 2 weeks is going to be Swami Sarvadevananda this week, and next week Swami Jnana reading the Gospel. All right, so there's lots of opportunities to come together and practice loving on each other. I like to tell people, that we don't come to the Sangha, to the gathering, to get. Right? The getting happens in your practice. The getting happens in your day-to-day walk with the divine. You come here to show that you love, that you're learning love. You come here to experiment with an unconditioned love. A place that's mostly safe, with people that are mostly open. So you come here to practice what you learn in your practice, to be what you're becoming because of your time with the beloved. So you come here to give, right? To give of yourself, to be encouraging, to find out about each other. Because if you can't do it here, it's going to be more difficult to do it in your cubicle, more difficult to do it out on the street. So come here to practice that. Think of ways to bring your light to this place. Swami Prabhupada every year at the Olima retreat, he would say, people would want to offer money to the center, and he would always tell them, don't leave your money. He says, if you come here, spend 5 minutes in the shrine, leaving some practice behind, leaving some sacredness from yourself behind. And so come here to charge this room with your love, with your presence, with your discipline. Come here to smile and to help out, to be there for somebody that you see sitting alone or crying on the sidewalk outside. There's so much opportunity for service in this neighborhood alone. So keep your eyes open, keep your heart open, and come to class.